bored in the house, bored in the house, bored.
Hi guys, I'd like to introduce you to my tripod. I meditated for 1 full hour this morning. So in case you haven't noticed by now, I'm in the house bored in the house. And the video I was supposed to shoot today didn't quite work out. So I don't know how I came up with this idea, but I just decided, you know what? I want to spend a day meditating for 6 hours straight. Literally me sitting here for like 6 hours. 1 hour later. Turns out I'm not the Iceman, Wim Hof. I can't handle this. But I figured I'd take this time to let loose a little. Because honestly, I've been taking things way too seriously. It's time for me to get real with you guys. Like, here I am laying on my unmade bed, because I don't always make my bed. In fact, it's more often that I don't make my bed than I do make my bed. But what I'm trying to say is that I've been taking things a little too seriously lately, and it's kind of taxing. Like, this is something I've always kind of struggled with, and I think it's a key. Like, it's one of these important parts of having a happy life, is being able to just let loose and be weird and not care exactly what's going on. But for some reason I struggle with that so much. I think it's just because I've always been so in my head and so logical and so analytical and never been that much of the goofy type. And so sometimes it can be a little bit hard to be that way. And then of course the existential crisis comes up of, oh, well, is this just who I am? Am I just a serious person? And it would be weird to be so goofy. Or is it like, maybe I'm supposed to be goofier, but I'm just not used to it? I don't know what would ultimately make me enjoy my life more, but I enjoy my life a lot though. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying there's a problem here. I'm chilling. But you know, if I'm gonna talk about always being the happiest and best version of yourself, I should also be that way. And I always tell myself that I need to let loose a little bit more, especially in these YouTube videos, because they get so boring sometimes, honestly. Like, I don't mean to be rude to myself, because, you know, self-love is important. But, you know, sometimes, quite frankly, the videos get boring, because the stuff I'm talking about is sometimes pretty serious stuff, and I speak about it pretty seriously, and sometimes try to throw in a joke or two, but it's kind of too little too late sort of thing. So, I don't know, I hope that by making a video like this, a little more relaxed, a little more just weird, that will start to make it easier for me to be this way in all my future videos a little bit more. Because I guess it's kind of an image thing. It's like, so far I have this image of being pretty serious on YouTube for the most part, and this seems like a decent way to kind of break out of that. But not that much. Again, don't get me wrong, I think I am more of a serious person than a goofy person on average. The fact that I even just said it that way is just... Apart from also making the videos more interesting for you guys, I also want to make it more enjoyable for me, because, you know, right now filming is kind of a bore, you know. It's like I try to memorize these lines, or I try to say something the best way possible, and it's always so serious. But I want filming to be fun. I want it to be something that I enjoy, something that I look forward to instead of dread. So I think that's possible, but I think I just need to go about it differently. I think I need to be a little less serious, a little goofier. And you guys know I talk about this sort of thing all the time. You have to love what you're doing. You can't just get through it. And right now I feel like filming is something that I've definitely been getting through. It's something where I am like dreading it kind of, and then when I'm doing it, it's a little bit stressful, and then I'm done and I'm like, yes, I'm done filming. I don't want it to be that way. I want to be in flow. I want to be doing what I love at all times. And if filming is like a serious thing, then it's not really that enjoyable. And so, I don't know, I need to constantly try to remind myself to kind of be less serious. On a side note, I'm gonna be meditating now every day for 15 minutes a day probably, except this first week I'm going to do an hour every day, because that video that I tried to do earlier today, I was supposed to meditate for 6 hours today, just as a crazy experiment, but it was really cold and windy outside, and so I only lasted an hour before I decided to call it quits. And then I realized, okay, you know what? I'll just do an hour every day for a week, and I'll make a video about that next week. So be expecting that video. But anyway, my whole point with that is I'm gonna be meditating an hour a day for this week, and probably 15 minutes every day after that, because the last couple days I've had really good experiences meditating, and also I've been consuming a lot more content around the topic of meditation, and just like, I had already known a good amount about it, but now it's like, the more I learn about it, the more enticing the benefits are, and I really want to reap those. And the benefits that I'm talking about, finally getting to the point that I'm trying to make. One of those benefits is just kind of dissolving the ego a little bit. And I'm not saying I have like a big ego, but I mean the ego in terms of the false sense of self, you know? Like, I think sometimes I get a little bit too trapped in this concept of Michael, this identity that I have of myself. And I think being able to detach myself from that a little bit more will help me not be quite so serious. As well, of course, as just not being in my head all the time thinking. You know, if I practice meditating, I should get better at not being in my head all the time, and that'll make me a little looser. Like, honestly, just maybe an hour ago, half an hour ago, I was like super stressed out about filming, and I was like, oh my god, it's gonna be so much work, and I have to do all this and post it by tomorrow, and wow, all this stuff. I was so stressed, and now that I'm just filming and relaxing and talking to the camera, well, talking to you guys, of course, but right now in this moment, I'm talking to the camera, unfortunately. I'd rather be talking to you guys than just a camera, but okay, that was a major tangent. I don't even know what I was saying. Yes, now that I'm talking to the camera and you guys, damn it, there it is again. But what I'm saying is, now that I'm just relaxed here, just talking, kind of shooting the shit, it's like I think I've actually recorded pretty much enough by now to make a full video. And I don't think editing it will be that hard. And I'll probably end up getting a decent amount of sleep. And, you know, life is easy. Like, I think I'm starting to see what they mean when they say, like, if you just go with the flow, everything will be good. I mean, maybe it'll turn out that this video doesn't do well at all because it's kind of at the last minute or whatever, but, you know, you never know which video is going to do well on YouTube. But my point is, at least the process of making the video is going much more smoothly than I ever could have imagined, and it's just because I just started going with the flow, just started being me, and it's going pretty well. Although now you probably think I'm really weird, but that's perfectly okay. Because we're all weird, you know? If I was as normal as I appear I am in these videos, I mean, that'd be pretty weird, right? So being weird is normal? Who knows? Alright, well, I think by this point I've made it apparent that I'm stir crazy. I have cabin fever. It's about time for this quarantine to be over. Just kidding. Stay at home. Don't leave the house unless you really have to, because we don't want people dying and people getting sick. But, I mean, it's time for this coronavirus to be over so that we can end this quarantine. Not that that's going to happen anytime particularly soon, but you get the point. I'm going crazy. You're probably going crazy. We're all going a little crazy. So here's to being bored in the house.